I am entirely on board for the idea that's being pitched. However, would rather offer a platform for our cops to speak for themselves because they are cops, and I don't never been a cop, never will be, and don't have as much perspective. That being said, I want everybody to weigh in on their thoughts on this idea. So, Declan, if you want to explain, I think you're probably the best one for it.
Height can do. So once again, I'm Sergeant Declan Crane with the BCSO. I also am the head of personnel and training for the BCSO, so I do all our recruiting and oversight. And I am a command member for Shift 2. Miss Jones and I have been speaking off and on the last few days, even before she was elected, about things in the North and what I think could be done to improve policing and just community relations overall. One of the key things that we struggle with up north is controlling the highway. I personally am someone who enjoys doing highway traffic. I was telling Miss Jones that one of my first ever big arrests was actually on the previous chief of staff, Siobhan Fitzpatrick. I caught her driving Michael Simone's personally owned Gauntlet back when they were more rare and nobody had them. Kind of the era that you and Bones were talking about there, scraping money together. I caught her going over 180 miles an hour on the freeway. But I should mention, I did not really catch her. I did have a Scout with a 100mm turbo, but I was completely unable to keep up. For reference, I was parallel with her leaving the casino. And by the time by the time we reached the prison, she had 15 car lengths on me. By the time we reached the U-Tool, I was VCB, visual contact broken. I couldn't see her. I only ended up finding her because I just continued pushing north to Toledo because I knew Michael Simone lived there. And I found her stopped at the 24/7 outside Toledo, just kind of standing idly by the car. She admitted to me that she was the one driving the car. She was oblivious that I had even been behind her or seen her speeding at all. So I arrested her for reckless driving. We had a bench trial over it. She was found guilty because she admitted under Miranda to listening to her music so loud she didn't hear the sirens. And being on the phone while driving north of 170 miles an hour, which I argued qualified as reckless. The point of all this is that I think one of the things that the BCSO should be doing that we are ill-equipped to do currently is controlling the highway. There are some people who would liken this or compare it to past iterations of like a cargo fast or a street racing unit. I want to make it very clear this is not that, and I don't want it to be that, and I want it to be so clear that it is not, that I do not want anyone to even have the impression that it is that. My goal is to create a unit where you are either of a command level or higher, or you are specifically certified to operate and run highway traffic. I want 95% plus of that person's time in that vehicle to be running highway. I want them posted on medians. I want them in bushes. I want them at exit points in and out of Toledo, in and out of Sandy, in and out of Grapeseed, controlling the freeway. Mr. Chavez, I can personally vouch to you, and I would do so under oath. You could even do a ride along and see for yourself someday that if I just sit at one of these positions with radar running, and you can even see in the passenger seat, about every 3 5 7 minutes someone will ping on your radar going north of 175 miles an hour. These are Italia RSXs, gauntlets with turbos, Vigeros, you name it. People are just full sending, and I will assure you, sir, these are not necessarily criminals. Most of the time it is the Siobhan Fitzpatricks. They know that they are just going to get a ticket. They know that most of the time the cops can't even attempt to keep up with them or accelerate to catch them, and they know that a plate read is not enough to issue the ticket or a warrant, so they just do it because they can get away with it. I would like people to have a deterrent fear in their mind of driving 175 miles an hour plus on the freeway. In fact, I would like to make it a policy for this unit that if someone is caught going 175, that we push reckless driving. I think that too often we just throw a speeding ticket at someone, and if you look at the highway, it's 90 miles an hour. So someone goes double the speed limit, which is actually insane to think about, and we're just giving them a ticket. In my mind, I don't even feel safe as an officer when I have to drive over 175. I feel like at any time my sirens are going to cause the locals to freak out. They're going to cause me to eject. I feel in fear for my safety. It is not safe for anyone to drive that speed. I don't think there's any reason to do so out of like a controlled track environment or drag strip. So my opinion is that I think we should be equipped with some kind of vehicle, whether it is performance modification for current cars or specific cars just for this purpose that are faster acceleration and top end.
Mm.
And they should be designated solely to this certified unit of only command and certified members. I'm expecting something equivalent to our current command members, which is 2 per shift. So if you think about
Okay.
2 or 3 command per shift, plus maybe 1 to 2 certified people per shift who are not command, these people would only run the highway in that car. If they go to respond to another call, they would need to swap out of that car and transition to a normal vehicle. In terms of the parameters for how things would operate when chases that we would do on the highway go into the city, that would be your call and the LSPD's call of how they would like to coordinate. In
Okay.
my opinion, I would ultimately wish at some point that there would be some kind of equivalent force in the LSP to handle the city issues of vehicles that we cannot catch with normal cars. If that does not exist for the time being, I have no problem with telling the highway patrol units to stick on to maintain as long as they are necessary, and then to break off to a parallel position and return to the freeway city limits. But again, I want to be very clear. I am not here advocating for a cargo fast street racing unit. And in fact, I will do everything in my power to make everyone know that this is not that.
This
And if
is
they treat it as that, I want them to be thoroughly disbarred from ever doing the unit or being a part of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
removed from the unit entirely.
the primary goal of this, if I'm understanding this is to deter people from driving effectively recklessly.
Correct. Highway
And
interdiction.
it's more of like to create a fear.
Yep.
I want people to think twice before deciding that they are going to run from the cash exchange by swapping into their $350,000 car and forcing the police to chase them at 200 miles an hour up the freeway.
And with it set up this way, if the people decide to do that and they already know about the highway patrol that's up there, they're actively making that choice for what they're getting into.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
again, part
like
of the, and
this.
I want to be clear here, sir. And I want everyone who ever comes in contact with this idea or talks about it or hears about it to understand this very clearly. This is not the street racing jocks. This is not the cargo fast people. 95% of the time, the people who are in this unit will be sitting on the highway in a median running radar. They will be issuing traffic tickets. And if the people are going above 175, which is what the sheriff and I think is like a reasonable figure, or I should say reasonable in that it is unreasonable to drive that fast, then we would push the reckless driving charge as a policy. But my goal is to have this be known as a highway interdiction unit. We will handle, the east and west, routes going up to and down to Grapeseed Sandy, Polito. Our goal is to deter people from just sending it up the freeway without regard for life.
Yeah, they will live and breathe the highways of the north, but they're not there to fucking come down to the city and respond to cash exchanges and banks and whatever
They would
the fuck
attach
else.
though in the event someone's like highway blasting, right?
Correct. So
They
if
have to come on the
LSPD,
highway.
if
Just
LSPD
for
has a chase and calls it out, then we would coordinate.
Easy. I actually like this a lot. Is there like a write up for this anyway?
Not yet.
We
We
have
wanted to
just
see
begun
if you guys
discussing.
had thoughts or things that needed to be or you wanted to be addressed within that paperwork before I write it up.
I would
thought we'd come talk to you guys.
much rather see. Wait, I'm a wait. Are we talking about legislation being written or SOPs?
Legislation, but SOPs I think should also be discussed. Because
I
as far
rather
as
see a
LSPD
proposal
goes,
coming from them before legislation. And the reason I say that is the way I'm seeing it is they're asking for something, and I want to know like from their end their description of it, and then see how the legislation ties for it. You know what I mean?
So you want their SOPs into our legislation and then submit?
Yeah,
It's pretty much
because
the process.
otherwise we'd be setting. This is my perspective. Is like we'd be setting barriers around something that like I wouldn't know. Like, you know what I mean? I might be like, okay, you can do X, Y, and Z in the legislation, but they may have a different perspective.
No, and that's totally fine. Yeah, my process for that in the north would be yes, they're going to have to give me some kind of outline of how this is structured, and I'm going to have to prove that before I even pick up a pen to write legislation for it. Because if I write the legislation first, then obviously I trust these two not to do that, but effectively any person could just then say, okay, these are SOPs that are not really in fitting with the very vague legislation that's supposed to inform the people of generally what it is. So yeah, it needs to be outlined first, legislation, then submit. That being said, I think this would offer a lot of personality to the north. I don't think it fucks with any future SRU stuff should that ever happen. I think it gives personality to cops who might, I don't know. I would not doubt that there are officers who feel like they are going through the motions on the day to day. I think it provides an option for them to feel like they have a certain identity as a cop, that they are, I am highway patrol, I do XYZ, I am here serving this purpose, which I think can help a lot with morale, which we all know has been up and down as of the late months, to put it lightly.
It also
I am
would help
in
fill a
full
gap.
support of this.
I just wanted to add on to that because she brought up something that I was thinking of, ma'am. It also fills a gap, sir, that's hard to explain if you're not a cop, but Bones and Barrett can attest. As someone who patrols the North pretty regularly, and I'm one of, I will say proudly, the few people over the last 6-7 months who have actually actively investigated Sandy and Polito, I am ping-ponged a lot back and forth, especially in shift 2 with low unit numbers, to where I'm kind of forced to try to find time to go up to Sandy, and then I get dragged back down to the city, and then I'll go to Polito, and then I'll get dragged back down to the city. If I was running highway as a dedicated sort of task, I think it would make that flow a lot easier because I'd be stationed kind of on the highway anyway.
Yeah, it's a way you can help
so
the city as well.
it's a
while
way
being
it's a way
there.
that provides for both sets of functions without needing to sacrifice people. Because as Miss Jones said, it would give you an identity to run highway, and then you wouldn't need cops from the city to be like, maybe I'll go do some highway now, or cops from Toledo to be like, hey, maybe I'll go do a traffic, speed
I mean,
trap
is that
at,
like, is that
going
a
into LS
terrible
freeway.
thing though?
What?
I
Like,
don't think
why
it's
is that so
terrible.
horrendous?
I don't think it's
Like,
bad.
why
I
does
do it
this need to
personally.
be one specific department?
I don't think it's bad, and I don't think personally that people shouldn't do things like that. I'm just telling you that I personally have given up on doing highway lately because all I do is just run radar reads of people
Okay.
going 185, and I have nothing to do about it.
Okay.
But if
And
that's the way
as
we want to
somebody that
structure
is
it,
on,
what stops you guys from doing the exact same?
there is not like a reasonable alternative to that. And I'm just gonna be devil's advocate here, even though I am on your side. It does not matter what fucking car you drive. If you are at a standstill and someone goes by you at 175, you will not catch them.
Well, I have
easily set up like
I
a team
let me
can
counter
do that
that.
now.
and you
Let me counter that. I have positions where I run highway, and I'm telling you right now that I have positions where if I had maybe a 20% better car at accelerating, I would be able to keep up with people. It's about the correct position where you can see them coming from literally like a mile down the road. For example, I have one position that is facing southbound, the part that goes straight into the city off of the freeway. The people who are coming into Strawberry. There's a set of bushes that you can sit behind where if you pick the right angle, you can see all the way back to the overpass that connects the end of the casino area, the Vinewood Park Drive, to Sonora Road over there. But the problem is that even with the optimal position and the optimal turbo in like the mid 60s for acceleration, I cannot keep up. Now, if I had a little bit better, I would be able to because I can get a rolling start. And I think that,
Okay.
In addition to this,
it
if
all
there's a
depends on the
chase
setup.
going on in the city that's going to be moving north, what stops cops from letting them know that they need to highway patrol on standby in case it starts going that direction? So that they're already prepared to chase by the time it passes, not stopping, turning around, trying to chase it.
I don't necessarily disagree with the chief here 100%, Mr. Chavez. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. He is right. There is a certain level of reality that if someone is blasting the highway at 190 miles an hour or whatever, unless you have a rocket ship, you are not going to magically from a dead stop be able to catch up with them. What I'm saying is that the deterrent effect of actively patrolling on the highway with cars that could keep up in certain scenarios at certain speeds, at certain acceleration points, at certain, stakeout points, I think will deter the behavior enough to at least create some deterrent base to at least cut down on it. Because like I said, it's not just criminals right now, it's everybody. Anyone who spends enough time doing tow or group 6 or whatever and makes a couple $100,000 immediately goes and buys a 2-door sports car, and then every time they drive up to Polito or they drive to Sandy or Grapeseed, they're just sending it at full speed and they don't care. And I think that having a dedicated highway unit who has some capacity to deal with that, whether it's going to be perfect or not, I think would be good for the North and good for the city as well.
and good. I like the I like this. I want to see a proposal though, like in writing, whether it's like SOPs or whatever you want to, kind of do it. The way that I like to operate, and whether it's going to be the police department, whether it's a business or whatever comes through, like I want it in writing, describing from A to Z exactly what it is that we're planning here, so that there's no misunderstanding as to what the request is. Right?
100%.
When can you get that by?
I'll speak with Miss Jones about her availability, but I have no problem getting that to you. Miss Jones, are you available over the weekend, or are you going to be free?
I'll be available via email, not otherwise.
Okay. Then
That
first thing
being
next week,
said,
say
this
like
meeting
Monday
is
around the same time.
more of looking for weigh-ins because ultimately, if we want to do that in the north, we can, right? So it's more so where your guys' concerns would lie. Barrick, it sounds like you probably have more concerns, and I would love to hear before they go any further.
I just like, I mean, whether you guys want to do that one way or another, that's fine. But I feel like it's probably more so like even being like constructed based around like the cars. And whether that is the truth or not, one way or another, that's fine. If it is or if it isn't. But I think one way or another, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much the primary reason that we are here one way or another is because of the cars, because of the interceptors specifically, not because this, that, and the other, what they could be used for or specialized for. It's because people believe that we want those cars.
We will have I think you're worried about this like kind of turning into a cargo fast unit, but that's going to be a whole different thing down the line.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I mean, you're saying that but that is a tool that we'll need though.
Everybody. Look, proposal. And that proposal can be reviewed by Barrick. It can be reviewed by you, Bones. It can be reviewed by me. It can be reviewed by Andy. And then we'll take step 2. Anything else? Good idea. I want to see that keep going. And Barrick, I want to chat with you after this.
Mm-hmm.
Nino,
Hmm.
can I put out a thought here?
No. Anything else? All right, easy.
All right.
All right, thank you,
guys,
sir.
for your time.